Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. It is time for tarot scopes again. I can barely believe it. I feel like I did it yesterday. So today we're going to do the tarot scope for the sign of Leo for the month of February 2022. And we start with the astrology. We'll look at the astrology for Leo, and then we'll move on to the card reading. So we start this month with a new moon in the sign of Aquarius. And this new moon, which occurs on the 1st of February, is in a very close conjunction to Saturn. In fact, on the 4th, so 3 days later, Saturn makes its exact conjunction to the sun, which is a yearly synodic cycle. The sun, Saturn illuminates the structures that we need to work on creating, actually. And this new moon with a conjunction of Saturn has that energy of building, because Saturn is there. And in the case of Leo, it's about building relationships. So we have a new sort of a new seed being planted in your house of relationships. And it is going to take some hard work and some heavy lifting to get these things sort of off the ground. Now, the 7th house is your house of marriage, legal relationships, but it's also open enemies, and it's also business partnerships. So whatever that's going to mean for you is going to mean for you. But there is a certain amount of seriousness that this new moon takes. Now, we do have a full moon coming up, and that occurs on the 16th. That full moon, of course, the sun in Aquarius is sitting in that 7th house. The moon is in your 1st house. So the moon is your feelings, right? It's your responses, it's your reactions. It's emotional. So the Leo moon can often be dramatic. So we might see some dramatic revelations. The new moon is always some sort of revelatory energy. Something comes to fruition with that full moon. And so it is occurring at the last degrees, 28 degrees actually, of Leo for the moon, and Aquarius for the sun. And so there's not just an energy of sort of wrapping up this or sort of coming to fruition in the cycle, but it's at the end of Aquarius and Leo. And so there's a rounding off really of that Aquarius energy. So you could come to some decisions around relationship because of that. We do have also Venus and Mars on the same day as the full moon, making their first conjunction. They actually make two conjunctions together, one in Capricorn. It's at 17 degrees of Capricorn. And for you, Leo, that sits in your 6th house of service, work, health, mentorship, those relationships that are not equal, that often associated with karmic relationships. Mars and Venus are the two planets that we work with when we talk about how we relate, both in how we relate to ourselves, how we relate to others, how we experience our relationships. Of course, Venus is the feminine principle, Mars is the masculine principle. When they come together in their conjunction, Venus will be direct, and Mars will be in the sign of its exaltation. So on a certain level, Saturn sort of has the upper hand with this one. Not Saturn, Mars has the upper hand with this one. Did I say Saturn? Anyway, it's Mars. New conjunctions are new, right? It's about moving forward. It's about new seeds being planted. This can be new relationships in perhaps mentoring relationships. You become a mentor or you find a mentor in this situation. And then later in March, these two planets come together again at the first degree, like the first few minutes actually of Aquarius. And I'll talk about that when that happens. But there's this energy of Capricorn, and then we have the Aquarius energy after that next month. And so Capricorn tends to like be that sort of like soul business, but Aquarius is more group oriented. So there's a progression here. There's a progression within that that Venus Mars conjunction, and you know, we'll talk about that when we get to the second one next month. We also have, let's see, we have the sun moving into Pisces. Pisces is your 8th house of shared resources, inheritance. The sun moving through that area of the chart brings light to the 8th house. Is often a mysterious house. In fact, all of the water houses, the 4th house, 8th house, the 12th house, there's a mystery to them. If you shine light on water, like say the sun shines on the ocean, you can see the surface. And you know, in the right situation, sometimes you can see below the surface, but there's a depth there that the sun rays don't penetrate. So generally, but with the sun there, we start to see things perhaps that we hadn't seen before. And it's also the place of taxes. So I would say make sure that you take care of your taxes and things like that, Leo, because the sun is shining in that area. So you want to make sure that you're, you know, everything's I's crossed, I's dotted, T's crossed. Can you tell Mercury's retrograde? It's like getting this all backwards. Okay. All right. What else is going? There's actually, interestingly enough, not a whole lot going on in February. Save that the United States is having their first Pluto return. It's the first pass of Pluto over their Pluto. So there's that. But for, you know, for the rest of us, there's not too much going on. We do actually have a pretty perky trine between Mars and Uranus. Now, of course, Mars is in Capricorn at this point. Uranus is in Taurus. This is occurring on the 8th, which is also the day of the first quarter crisis in action moon. So there's this crisis energy that comes up. And then with Mars and Uranus in a trine, it's energy towards change. It can be explosive change. And so there's really nothing holding back the energy between Mars and Uranus. So we can expect some sudden changes. And for you, Leo, that could involve your house of work, your 6th house, and your house of career. So there can be a big change and a big shift in your work. So be aware of that. And that comes up the second week on the 8th. We also have a conjunction a few days later on the 11th of Mercury and Pluto. Now, this conjunction, this Mercury-Pluto conjunction, is one in which we are diving deep and going very, very deep within our mind. Now, the interesting thing about this conjunction, and this occurs for you in your 6th house as well, really thinking about perhaps your health, really thinking about how you utilize your energy every day, because that 6th house is sort of those mundane tasks. And also like focus on your state of mind when it comes to, are you taking care of your physical needs? Are you taking care of your health concerns and your health needs? So that's there. But this conjunction is actually the 3rd of 3. Because of Mercury's retrograde cycle, it has made 3 initial conjunctions to Pluto, that conjunction always starts a synodic cycle. So it's like three's a charm, right? It had to happen 3 times. The first time was the end of December 30th. The second time was, I believe, January 28th, so the end of January. And then this last time, the 11th of February. So by then, we have a better idea. It can also really be a deep consideration of what you want to do, for work, or how you want to be of service, because that 6th house is a house of service, and in some cases it's world service. So you could really be pondering how you want to put yourself out there, in order to help what needs to be helped with. And certainly there's plenty of stuff that we can certainly work on. In fact, there's so much stuff that we could do that sometimes you don't do anything because it's overwhelming. What this Mercury Pluto conjunction will help you do is sort of focus that intention in a way. Let's see, what else do we have going on here? We do have in the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, the 4th week of February, on the 23rd and 24th, we have Neptune making supportive sextiles to, first it makes it to Mars and then Venus. And these sextiles with Neptune, we're talking about 2 separate cycles here. We're talking about the Venus-Neptune cycle, and we're talking about the Mars-Neptune cycle. Now, the Mars-Neptune cycle started about 2 years ago in 2020, I believe it was. 2020, 2021. Yeah. And so that's sort of taking action on Neptune issues around Neptune, which can be healing, it can be illusion, it can be delusion. It depends on Neptune. Neptune is sort of a there's a lot of imagination with Neptune. So depending on where your imagination goes, right, that could be sort of like what comes to fruition with that cycle. And then Venus Neptune, they have a special relationship because Neptune is considered the higher octave of Venus, right? Venus being the planet of love, Neptune being the planet of compassion, love brought to its highest and most inclusive energy. These sextiles are sextiles that have the energy of Aquarius. It's a 300-degree sextile. There's 2 types of sextiles you can have. You can have one that has the energy of Gemini, that's very curious, it's gathering information. You don't really know what you know yet. You just want to keep gathering information so you can come up with some sort of perspective. But when you get to these Aquarius side sextiles, you got plenty of perspective. And so it can be an opportunity for progressivism. And so we do have an opportunity to move in a more progressive direction where we're raising all boats and, you know, and trying to foster this sense of opportunity for all. Okay, so we have that, and that's happening in that 4th week of February. So for you, Leo, we're looking at that 8th house, and we're looking at the 6th house. So this can be opportunities, understanding for healing, which can be 8th house issues, or just a depth of understanding of what it's going to take for us to relate in a way that we can hold that energy of compassion, even for those who don't necessarily agree with us, or even for those who don't necessarily like us. Okay, you know, it's the Jesus turn the other cheek thing. Okay, so that's what I want to say about the astrology. Now, let me find a deck. Okay, I think I'm going to use, what do I have here? I have like 7 decks in front of me. Just want to pick the right one. I'm gonna select the what's this called? Navigators of the Mystic Sea Tarot. Okay, I haven't used this one in a long time. So let's take a look at this. So this is for Leo, for the sign of Leo. So this includes Leo rising, Leo sun, Leo moon, for the month of February 2022. So what is it? What tarot scope? What is the tarot scope? Navigators of the Mystic Sea. With all this Pisces energy, I think this is an apt deck to utilize. Okay, I haven't used it in a while, so I really need to energize it. Almost ready. It almost feels right. Just a few more shuffles. Okay, feels good. All right, let's see. What are we starting with here? Okay, we have the 8 of Wands here, the 8 of Wands. So this is information coming in fast and furious, So there's this energy of the 8 of Wands is very much a psychic card. It's about being aware or feeling all this energy coming towards you. And the challenge with that always is discerning what is all this information coming? What am I feeling? What am I hearing in my own mind? Where am I getting these messages from? It's like they're coming like out of nowhere to a certain extent. Let's see the challenge to that. The 7 of Swords. The challenge is discernment here. There are some people putting information out that is not necessarily good or not necessarily true. And so there's a challenge of discernment. What can you trust and what can't you trust? Underneath it all is the 9 of Wands here. This is somebody who's really got a lot of, well, this happens to be fire, but it's like having a lot of balls in the air. It's trying to keep it all like lined up and organized. So this card in this deck is called Intensity. And so this is an intense time. So lots of information coming in. Mercury is retrograde until the 3rd in Capricorn at that point. It started in Aquarius and then it retrograded back into Capricorn, and then it turns back around on the 3rd and goes forward. But Mercury is going to be in its shadow all month. So while more information is coming, decisions upon that information may be a little bit difficult to you're not quite ready to make proclamations about the information coming in per se. In the past, we have the Ace of Cups. So in the past, we've had some happiness, some fulfillment. There's nothing wrong with that, right? It's nice. It's nice. Happiness and fulfillment is nice. In the sky, we have the 4 of Cups. The 4 of Cups is an energy of divine discontent. And so there's a certain amount of I want to say redundancy. It's like in the outer world, it seems like there's all of these like feelings. It's like there's some people who are, well, there are plenty of people who are angry. There are people who are afraid. There are people who are trying to grasp on to a sense of meaning, a sense of purpose, or a sense of order. And not all of it is particularly healthy or helpful. So again, there's this energy of discernment. The outside world is confused. And so I feel like you're not going to get a whole lot of help from looking outside of yourself and saying, well, what does it say on the news, or what does it say on this, or who's saying what, or what's this? There really is, well, I don't know. This is sort of the situation that we find ourselves in, right? Okay, and so in the immediate future, we have the Two of Cups. And this sort of is seen in that conjunction between Venus and Mars in your sixth house. I feel like you can partner up with somebody who is at the same level as you. And so this is an opportunity for, and then of course we have the new moon in that house of relationship as well. And so there, I almost feel like there's an energy here of you feeling like you're standing on your own. You're trying to keep all the balls in the air. You don't know who to, you don't necessarily, you have all this information coming in and you're having difficulty, or you're having challenges discerning what's right, what's wrong. There's just so much out there. And I feel like there's an opportunity coming for you this month where you can have somebody who can be a sounding board or a mirror, or somebody you can discuss all this stuff with that's going to do it in such a way that they're not angry at you, they're not against you, or they don't think you're crazy, or whatever it is. There's an opportunity for some real deep friendship and love, based on a mutual respect and being at a similar vibrational level. How it's seen from the outside, the Page of Pentacles, you're seen as somebody who, is learning how to work through this very, the world, the ground that which we step on, there's a crumbling, there's like a breaking, like the earth itself is like breaking up under our feet, and you are just, saying, okay, well, this has changed, so I can't step there, and I'm going to step here, and I can't step there, and I'm going to step here. So there's this energy of progression through careful realization of what it is that where you can step and where you can't step, right? Because if you don't look where you're going, you can fall into the abyss, like this person right here. So there's a necessity to, and he also has a staff, and that is a good idea if you're going out, especially if you're going on a nature walk. And now some of you are young, and you're like, I don't have to do that. And some of you are not young, like myself. Sometimes it's nice to have a little something extra to gain support. And I think that we all need that. I think we all need to walk around with our staves, quite frankly. And staves, of course, are associated with fire, which is what Leo is, a fire sign. So it's like you're walking with your wisdom in your hand. Domestic situation, we have the Two of Wands. Here's another two. This is another indication of relationship. And then also, because we're dealing with fire, it's a relationship based on a spiritual understanding with each other. Hopes and fears, the Three of Pentacles. I feel that's a hope. Because Three of Pentacles talks about finding work that fulfills you, finding work that you're very good at, doing your due diligence, feeling useful and feeling helpful, I think, comes with that. And then we have the outcome as the Hermit. Now, the Hermit can be a card of hermiting away, but with looking at all of, well, and that may be something you can do this month. Maybe you do need to hermit away a little bit. Cut yourself off from all this information coming in. that may not really help you in your decisions or the directions forward. It really feels much more like an internal journey for me, but you do have an opportunity to sort of meet people or meet up or have some sort of new relationship coming in. What I really think this Hermit card means is the Hermit card is about shining your light. It's about knowing your path, appreciating what you've been through and how you've walked that path and the wisdom that you've gained from it. So it's really a wisdom. It's about wisdom, and ultimately, it's about you being able to share that wisdom with others. Underneath it all, we have the Magician. So this is concentrated energy. The Seven of Pentacles, which requires us to continue to work diligently. There's a pruning aspect to the Seven of Pentacles. You have to figure out where you're being financially drained and what you can do about that. And then the last card up is the Three of Wands, which is a very positive card. We can see that we have an egg here that is being cooked, so to speak, the giant omelet. No, but this is really about giving birth to something based on spiritual understanding. So ultimately, these cards look pretty good, but you are in a state of like, like everything coming at you. What can I trust and what can I trust? I'm doing all this. I'm doing all this like juggling. And in this case, which is the only deck you have, you see this. This person is sleeping and they're doing this in the astral planes. They're doing this in the astral planes. And so this is a reminder that even though you may feel alone, you're not really alone. You're not really alone. And help is coming. Does that make you feel better? Makes me feel better. Okay, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Like and subscribe. I will see you again next month for the tarot scopes of March, and it'll be like it's tomorrow because that's what it'll feel like to me, right? Like yesterday I did January, now it's February already. Yikes, right? So have yourself a great month in February. For those of you who are in cold climates, stay warm. For those of you who are in hot climates, stay cool. And we're gonna get through this together, guys. Take care. Much love. Namaste. Love you all.